Welcome to the Deep Dive. We dig through the research so you don't have to. Today, we're looking at something that, well, it kind of challenges how we think about getting older. You hit 40, 50, whatever. You think that's your age. But what if, say, your liver is acting like it's 60? Or maybe your heart's still feeling like 25. We tend to see age as just one number, but some new science suggests it's way more complicated than that.
Absolutely. This deep dive is all about this really fascinating new study. It suggests that, each organ inside you might be marching to its own beat, aging at its own speed.
And this wasn't a small look either, right? They studied a massive amount of data.
Oh, yeah, huge. Data from over 44,000 people. They looked at 11 key organs: heart, brain, liver, kidneys, immune system, you name it, trying to map out these internal timelines.
Okay, so our mission today, let's unpack this idea of biological age for an organ. Basically, how worn out it is, not just how many birthdays it's had, and crucially, why knowing these individual ages could be key to predicting your health, maybe years before you actually feel anything's wrong.
Exactly. What's so exciting, I think, is how this moves us away from this, one-size-fits-all idea of aging. It's much more personal. It gives us this incredibly detailed internal snapshot.
So what did they actually find? Did many people have organs aging out of sync?
Well, the numbers are pretty interesting. They found about 1 in 5 people, so 20%, had at least one organ aging, faster than you'd expect for their actual age.
1 in 5.
Yeah.
It's quite a few.
It is. And then there was a smaller group, around 2%, but this group was really significant. They had multiple organs aging way too quickly.
Okay, 2% doesn't sound huge, but if it's multiple organs, I'm guessing that's not good.
Precisely. And this wasn't just like a weird quirk. These patterns where specific organs were biologically older were strongly linked to your chances of getting certain diseases later on. And the really key part, it often predicted these diseases years before any symptoms showed up. We're talking about real, measurable risks tied to specific organs.
Right, so it's not just a vague, oh, you're aging faster. It's specific. Like, if this organ is older, you might be at risk for that condition.
Exactly. The connections were pretty clear and honestly quite sobering. For example, if someone's heart was biologically older, they had a much higher risk of heart attacks or, say, atrial fibrillation down the road.
Okay. What about other organs?
Similar story. A faster aging brain, or even your arteries, that pointed to a much higher likelihood of developing Alzheimer's disease.
Wow.
And, as you guessed, if you had multiple organs aging faster than they should be, well, that was directly linked to a shorter overall life expectancy.
That really drives it home. It's specific organs creating specific vulnerabilities. You mentioned the impact could be dramatic. How dramatic are we talking?
It's quite stark. Get this. Just 1 extra year of biological age in certain key organs, like the heart or kidneys, could increase your risk of death by as much as 50%.
50%. For 1 extra year of biological wear and tear on one organ?
Up to 50%, yeah. It really highlights how critical the health of individual organs is. Even a slight acceleration in biological aging in the wrong place can have this magnified effect on mortality risk.
Okay, that's significant. But there was also a positive side to this, a predictive power, right?
Yeah.
You mentioned it could predict issues years in advance.
Yes, and this is where it gets really interesting, I think. They found these organ-specific ages could flag disease risk up to 10 years before symptoms typically appear.
10 years. Imagine having a decade's warning. That's potentially game-changing for prevention.
It really is. And the brain seemed particularly important here, sort of a gatekeeper, you could say. People whose brains showed signs of being extremely aged biologically, they had a massive 13.5 times higher risk of getting Alzheimer's.
13.5 times.
But, and this is the hopeful part, if your brain's biological age was youthful, your risk for Alzheimer's dropped by 74%. That's huge. It offered protection, almost like having good genes for it.
A 74% risk reduction just from having a biologically young brain. That's incredible. Does that mean lifestyle could potentially, overcome some genetic risks?
It strongly suggests that, yes, genetics obviously matter, but this really underlines how much things like lifestyle, environment, epigenetics, how much they influence our actual biological trajectory. It suggests we have more control than we might think, even over things we thought were largely set in stone.
Okay, so we know why it matters.
Yeah.
The big question then becomes, what actually makes organs age faster or slower? What can people listening actually do?
Well, no huge surprises on the speeding it up side. The usual suspects pop up. Smoking, drinking alcohol regularly, not getting enough sleep, eating lots of processed meats. Also, things like living in disadvantaged areas or under chronic stress. What the study adds is this direct link. It's not just stress is bad, it might literally be aging your heart or your brain faster.
Right. It gives that advice more specific weight.
Yeah.
But what about the other side? What helps keep organs young?
The protective factors were also kind of what you might expect. But again, seeing the direct organ link is powerful. Regular exercise, eating oily fish and poultry, taking certain vitamins and supplements, and interestingly, higher education levels were also linked to slower organ aging. These are all things that seem to nurture your organs at that biological level.
Okay, so lifestyle basics really do matter at this deep level.
Mm.
Were there any findings that were like really unexpected, things that made you go, huh?
Definitely. One that stood out was about menopause. Women who went through menopause earlier tended to show faster aging across quite a few different organs. It suggests a really systemic effect of those hormonal changes.
That's interesting. And related to hormones.
Yes. On the flip side, hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, specifically estrogen, was linked to slower aging in the immune system, the liver, and the arteries. So that suggests a potential way to mitigate some of those effects, perhaps.
And what about those everyday medications you mentioned? That seems surprising.
It really was quite striking. Things like ibuprofen or glucosamine, stuff people take for joints, were linked with healthier aging in some organs.
So, not saying people should start popping ibuprofen for anti-aging?
Absolutely not. It's not a recommendation, but it's a fascinating clue. It makes researchers ask, what's the mechanism here? What pathway are these common drugs tapping into that affects organ aging? It could open up new research avenues.
Any other surprises? Gender differences?
Yeah, there were some patterns there too. Men, on average, tended to show faster aging in their kidneys and immune systems. Women, on the other hand, tended to show faster aging in the heart and arteries.
Huh. So it's not even the same across the board between sexes.
Nope. It just highlights again how complex and really individual this whole aging process is.
So let's bring this back to the listener. What does all this mean for you? It sounds like more than just cool science. It feels like it's about, well, empowering you with knowledge, right?
Yeah.
Moving away from just reacting when you get sick.
Exactly. It really makes you ask, how could this change how we think about preventing illness in the first place? The potential is huge. We're talking about a future where healthcare isn't just about treating disease after it happens, but actively monitoring your organ health and slowing down that aging process before problems even start.
Like getting a regular checkup, but instead of just blood pressure, you get a health age for your heart, your kidneys, your brain.
Precisely. Imagine a simple blood test that gives you that report card for your key organs long before you'd ever feel symptoms.
And then the doctor could say, okay, looks like your kidneys are aging a bit faster than everything else. Let's focus on X, Y, and Z to support them.
Yeah, targeting your personal weakest link. It shifts prevention from just general advice, eat well, exercise, to really specific personalized strategies based on your unique internal aging map.
It allows for that truly individual approach we haven't really had before.
Instead of waiting for the engine light to come on, you're doing preventative maintenance on the specific parts that need it most.
So let's sum this up. Your age on your driver's license, that's just a number. But the biological age of your individual organs, that's real, we can measure it, and it's a much better predictor of your future health. And this research really confirms that living healthy isn't just about feeling good or looking younger. It's about actually being biologically younger inside, where it counts.
It's a powerful confirmation, isn't it, that our everyday choices really do echo down to the cellular and organ level. It paints this incredibly detailed picture of health we just haven't had before.
So here's a thought to leave you with. Imagine you had that personal organ health map right now. Even without the actual tests, knowing this concept, how might that change your choices today? What one small thing could you do differently right now, thinking about maybe that one organ you suspect might need a little extra care, something to mull over until our next deep dive?